there's still a light that shines on me. Shine till tomorrow, let it be. I wake up to the sound of music. Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. There will be an answer. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom. Let it be.
Good morning. Welcome to WellSprings online service. I'm Kathleen Higgins, and my pronouns are she and her. And it's my honor and blessing to serve as the worship leader this morning. Each week when we gather, even when we must gather at a bit distance, we light a chalice, not only as a symbol of our spiritual heritage as Unitarian Universalists, but to recognize the divine spark within each of us, both emerging and eternal. That divine spark illuminating our lives. We light our chalice to celebrate the path that before us, the warmth of kindness that shines within us, and the radiance of wisdom that is shared between us and never goes out. Good morning. Welcome to this week's online service as we worship together remotely. Our mission at WellSprings is to be a community charged full with the charge of the soul. This last week, I actually helped my best friend of 40 years move away to Arizona. And although I did my best to help her with a smile and gratitude for all she's been to me all these years, inside, I was screaming, "Don't leave me." And it kind of reminds me as I think of the charge full of the charge of the soul. Sorrow finds us. We don't go looking for sorrow, it comes to us. And so many things in this year of pandemic and the friends we've lost to death. My friend is still alive. I have no reason to really being as full of dismay that she's leaving our area, but I am. The sorrow is strong. And then I began thinking, well, am I going to dwell on the thoughts that bring what I'm calling dismay? Or am I going to actually find a way to do what I'll call breed joy? And I think my responsibility, and certainly my intention, is to breed joy. Gratitude is one of the things that breeds joy. There's so much for me to be grateful for, and so much for me to be grateful for with my friend, which is why I was able to help her that much. So I stopped and said, what is the charge full of that would belong to my soul? And that is to continue to breed joy and share joy wherever I can. May we all, as we struggle with our sorrows and the things we just can't make work for us, may we all find the joy, find our intentions, and find the way to love one another. Our beloved community is gathering virtually right now. So how do we connect from afar? And part of it's being grateful for technology. So our website has phone numbers and email addresses for our ministers and staff, along with a ton of other information. And on your screen, you can see our social media addresses on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You're welcome also on our Facebook private group called WellSprings Oasis. There's a link on the video description that you can click on to sign up for our weekly email newsletter, and that's a great way to make sure that you never miss any of the online offerings like programming for kids and meditation and drop-in hours with our ministers. It goes without saying, anytime, but especially in these strange and difficult times, please reach out to us. Anywhere, anytime. And I have a kitty in the background. That's fine. Say hi, cat. Jessica has a couple of announcements for us. Jessica?
Hi WellSprings, my name is Jessica Heichel and I have 3 announcements for you this week. The first is that we have a WellSprings 1.0 session coming up a week from today. We have begun offering WellSprings 1.0 sessions on a monthly basis, and these are classes that are designed for anyone who is interested in finding out more about WellSprings membership or pursuing WellSprings membership. So the first one will be available a week from today, about 15 minutes after service. It lasts about 1 hour and it takes place over Zoom. So if you are interested, I will put my email into the chat, and please feel free to email me directly, and I will be sure to sign you up and reserve your spot. There are 3 classes in all. Like I said, it does not matter which order you take them in. If you're not able to attend next week, don't worry, you will have another chance coming around in a few months. The second announcement is that we have an opportunity to support graduates from the Chester County Futures Program this spring. We are currently looking to provide each graduate with a gift card, and there is a link set up where you can make a donation if you're so inclined. So I will put that link into the chat, and if you can help us out with that, we'd appreciate it. The third announcement is that this new series is called Heirloom Connections, and our spiritual development ministry has completed and put out a terrific resource guide. So I will also put a link to the resource guide into the chat, and it's full of websites and podcasts and music and books that will help deepen your understanding of this message series. Thanks so much, everyone, and I'll see you next week.
At WellSprings, the foundation of everything we do is found in the power of connection, making space in our hearts and our lives for each other. We can take a few moments pause, kitty and all. You might type a greeting into the chat window on the side of your screen, or you might want to make a quick note to drop into WellSprings Oasis group on Facebook with a greeting. Maybe you can snap a quick selfie to share with yourself watching at home. Reach out after service, text, phone. Who might appreciate a call? How about joining the online coffee hour this morning on Zoom at 11 right after the service? The Zoom link is also in the video description. So take a moment now for greetings. As always, thank you for your warm greetings. I invite you now into our time of generosity, a time to reflect upon and to express our gratitude for the role WellSprings plays in our own lives and in our wider world. Kindness, compassion, and generosity make such a difference, now more than ever. As you reflect on the value of WellSprings in your life, especially in these times, we hope your resources are sustained so that you can choose to share a material gift with us. If you have a smartphone handy, you can text WellSprings, actually WSPRINGS, to 73256. You'll get a link then that'll help you complete a gift online. For your support of WellSprings and all we do and share, thank you, thank you, thank you. Sure. Just as we've taken the time to share the energy of connection among us and generosity beyond us, let's now devote some time to reground into that deep and soulful energy that's within ourselves. We do this by doing what is most simple and elemental in our lives. We take a breath. We inhale, exhale, without rush or hurry. We breathe in, then we breathe out. There's nowhere else to go, nowhere else to be. We can be here together now. We follow these words from Thich Nhat Hanh into our time of mindful silence. If we want to enter heaven on earth, we need only one conscious step and one conscious breath. Let us cultivate peace and experience presence in this quiet time together. Wherever it is that we are, whatever it is that we're doing, however it is that we are feeling, let us remember that peace and presence are always as close to us as is our own breath. May this be so for you in this moment. May it be so for you this day. May it be so for you in the days to come, and may it be so for all of us. When we gather in person, this is the time when we dismiss all the kids so they can have their time together in youth spirit. But these days, youth spirit is meeting on Zoom at 9 in the morning on Sundays. So for now, let's see if we have any shout outs to or from our youth in this week's Youth Spirit Yell.
Hi, WellSprings. I'm at this new park. I think I'm gonna go back to not new to like the country. I mean like new to me. At least I think it is. And I'm climbing this tree thing. Then I'm showing my mom how to. Don't you like the impressive scales?
It's very cool.
Thanks, Dad. I like it too. I'm gonna go down the slide now. Wow! I love it!
Okay. I can beat the night try sing along. This is a message from Cabana. If your heart turns blue, I want you to remember this song is for you, and you are full of wonder. Whoa, 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 we ain't falling under. Whoa, whoa, we are full of wonder. Whoa, whoa, we ain't falling under. Whoa, whoa, we are full of wonder.
Good morning, WellSprings. It is good to be with you again. One of the most concise ways that I describe Unitarian Universalism is by reaching back to the words of someone who was not even technically a Unitarian Universalist, but was kind of a fellow traveler with us. It was Walt Whitman. He wrote over 150 years ago, "We do not say that Bibles and scriptures are not divine. We say they are divine, and they have come from you, and they will come from you still." What I love about that is it gets right at the heart of progressive spirituality, which says that we are open to any and all sources of spiritual wisdom and tradition, and that the book of Revelation is not sealed. It's still here. In fact, we are inscribing ourselves and we are writing ourselves into that book of life and the book of our lives, each of us, in every age and in every era. I believe that each of us, we're all the sole authors of our lives, and that in the book of our lives there are many, many sources to footnote. I think there are many contributors, even if it is incumbent upon each of us to write our own stories. I think of this quote and the fact that ultimately the truest text of our lives is the one that we write, each of us. I think of this quote in connection with this current message series, Heirloom Connections, bringing together people from WellSprings of different ages and stages into conversation with each other as video pen pals. And so I'm going to share two of these pen pals with you today. Evan, who is 14, and Micah, who is 35.
Hi, Micah.
Hi, Evan.
Who are engaging in a series of conversations videotaped and then exchanged with each other and shared with me first, and now part of it with all of you. What I do want to say is that honestly, in these conversations with Evan and Micah, I could have done a whole series worth of material. So I focused in on just kind of one consistent theme that I heard regularly throughout the series of video messages that they exchanged with each other. I just want to thank Evan and Micah for bringing such thoughtfulness and such heart. And you will see that right from the beginning here in just a moment, they go big. They are grappling with some really important questions. And particularly you hear them reflect on a question of the series of questions that was asked them to help frame up their conversation. They talk about their ows and their wows. They talk about some of the things that kind of sit on their hearts and break their hearts, and also the things that cause wonder and awe for them to kind of come to life, and the connections between the ows and the wows.
Existence itself, just existing, is probably one of the most wow and ow type of thing. The fact that we're here is, again, very awe-inspiring, but also can be painful because we're here and we have to exist through this all. So, no, I don't know what else to say about that. So, I think I do have a lot of other consistent sources of wows. Hearing stories of people overcoming challenges are very wow. Being in nature, watching a squirrel. Honestly, I love watching squirrels. I'm almost like a dog. But I love watching them gather things. Hate to see them when they're dead on the road, but animals, anything, like the whole perception of existence and going through things and seeing the activity of life is kind of wow.
Well, I guess I'll start with ours. And you really grappled with some heavy topics for this stuff I never would have thought of. And what really, occasionally I think of this and then I just I'll sit back in my chair sometimes and just think, what is the meaning of it all? And we are so, not to be a Demi Downer, but we are so insignificant in this vastless space. Like, honestly, it scares me because we are little people on a massive planet in a massive solar system in an endless universe. And we're so small. And it just doesn't really, it's so weird to think about and grapple that there's so much beyond us.
So yeah, what I love about Evan and Micah's conversation, their being pen pals, is, they go big right from the start, right? The most powerful, profound cosmic questions. Existence itself. What are we doing here? What wakes us up? What allows us to really get in touch with our lives and our place in the overall order and meaning of things? I got the sense in listening to this part of the conversation that I was looking through a telescope at the night sky and just getting in touch with that sense as they both pointed to kind of the vastness of all of this. And also that we are, I love that Evan put it this way, we are so small. And yet, here we are, alive with this precious opportunity to make sense of our lives, to not just have our birth, the fact of our birth, be here, but that we are truly able to make something of meaning and purpose within our lives. In a part of the Pen Pal videos that I'm not showing you today, Micah quotes from a song that actually we're going to do here real soon, one of our favorite songs at WellSprings. The greatest magic trick is that there's anything here at all. And what I love is that, as you'll see in just a few minutes from Micah and Evan, is they don't just stay at that place of the kind of biggest, broadest perspective, but they start to kind of dial it in, almost as if they move gradually from the telescope of the vastness to the microscope of what is here at home in and with our hearts. And they do that by starting to focus on something that they find out they both have in common, which is a love of superheroes. And so Evan starts out the next place of our conversation by referring to Superman, and Micah speaking about comics that he really likes. And I'm about to say something very controversial, which is that between DC and Marvel, which is a conversation that Micah and Evan carry on with each other, I don't really have a dog in that hunt. I'm not particularly partial to either, to be honest with you. But we're going to let Evan kind of start to talk about who and what is it that allows him to make sense of what being alive is really all about.
And then you had mentioned your hero like comic book Superman or movie Superman, and I guess I understand where you're coming from, where he's this non-human being, and he's someone you can look up to. He's this perfect guy who has the power to see the evil in everyone, but chooses to see the good. But the problem is he doesn't face, and this is why he was never really my idol, is he doesn't face human problems. He's extraterrestrial, and he just feels dislocated. That's why I've always seen several Marvel superheroes as more heroes, because some of the problems they face you can relate to more, with the exception of really Captain Marvel, which even in the movies they did a fairly good job of making her more human. Um, like you look at Captain America, and he's this interesting guy, and he even gets to the point where, well, I was fighting, like I brought up before, I was fighting in World War II, and it was the idea of, well, clear cut good and evil, and I knew what to believe in, but now I no longer know what to believe in. And I'm sure a lot of people are facing that today, sadly.
I always did like the tenets of the faith I was growing up in, that love God with all your heart and love your neighbor just as much as you love yourself. And I probably follow that second commandment a lot. I tend not to hate people, even those who deserve it sometimes. I don't. I know how to hate, but I don't want to, because it is the most toxic, poisonous thing you can eat every day. And so I always love that idea of loving other people as much as you love yourself, because for a time I didn't love myself. Not one bit. I didn't like my voice. I didn't like my face. I didn't like a lot of things about me. You know, being a teenager with low self-esteem does wonders on you. But over time, I learned to love myself, and through that, love other people. I love it whenever I see somebody smile, just to be able to know that whether they're faking it or not, it's a happy moment for them. And over the years, having stepped away from that faith, I started to go through the process of discovering new ways of being and practicing some very I like to think of myself more into Buddhism in the past few years, a non-practicing Buddhist, but I like the idea of being aware of things, because quite often I am not. A good example of how tired I am, I was handing a juice cup to my dog this morning, thinking it was my son, and she was just staring at me like, what the heck are you doing, Dad? And so this idea of being aware of things, that's a simple one, right? Distracted mind, not thinking clearly early in the morning, versus being aware of the reality of life and everything around you.
Evan and Micah's conversation reminds me of a treasured, beautiful quote. It's by the Hindu teacher Sri Nisargadatta, who writes, "Wisdom tells me that I am nothing, and love reminds me that I am everything." Wisdom tells me that I am nothing, and love tells me that I am everything. And between these two, my life moves. I adore that quote because it kind of starts in that similar place where Evan and Micah started, the vastness of it. of all of it. And what are we, so small, seemingly so insignificant, and yet with awareness and love of self and other, how fully we can come alive and enter into true, vivid, beautiful connection with this life. I think this is where we find, as human beings, not a Superman superpower, as Evan said. I think that's why, in some ways, Superman, I totally agree with him. Superman isn't that relatable because he's not really fully human. So I think the actual superpower we as human beings can have is, as Micah points to, attention. Are we paying attention? And our inattentiveness may not all involve household pets and juice boxes, but I think we know exactly the kind of scenarios in our own lives that Micah points to so honestly and humorously. If love is a verb, not just a thing or a noun, but a verb, a way of being, then attention is love's most fully realized form. Through that attentiveness, through paying attention, we get to realize ourselves as part of the vast interconnected web of this life, not separate out, but intrinsically a part, as everyone and everything is. So much here and connected. And this is the next kind of step in that Micah and Evan take, which is building on this sense of attention, attentiveness towards the people in their lives who are their and have been their most powerful kind of demonstrators of love, have taught them to love, have offered them love, and the people who in their lives are the closest thing they know to their superheroes.
My own mother, who, going through a divorce and working at least 16 hours a day just to keep us in an apartment with cable, all the amenities. And, they each had their own struggles, and they each certainly have their own flaws, but they also have their own qualities that make them kind of superhuman a little bit,
You had brought up how your more modern or your more real figures that you look up to are your mom and dad. And then I'm sorry that you went through a divorce. No, it's not something you generally know about someone from looking at them, I guess. And then I guess it really showed in Idol when you had said your mom was willing to work 16 hours a day just to make sure there was food on the table, there was cable, there was everything you could need. And I think that's truly is a loving parent. And that's important. That's sort of why my personal idol is one of my personal, more real life idols is my grandfather. Because he decided that when he faced a decent amount of hardship when he grew up, came from a poorer family, and he decided he would work his butt off to make sure that his children didn't face the same problems he did. Yes, does that mean a little? Yes, it does mean a little bit of work, but and as your mom working 16 hours a day, it means a decent amount of work that you're sacrificing for the ones you love.
For me, what Evan acknowledges here is one of the best parts of this series, what it is to learn someone else's story. Like Muriel Rukeyser said a long time ago, that the universe is not really made up of atoms, it's made up of stories. And Evan's empathetic acknowledgement of Micah's experience as a child of divorce, and Micah sharing with Evan and with us his experience of his mom and what she has meant to him, and how this leads to Evan reflecting on the meaning of his grandfather to him. And I'm also recognizing, of course, that today is Mother's Day. And I've been a preacher on so many Mother's Days over the last number of decades here as a minister to know that this day is not one thing for everyone. For so many people, this is a day of joy and of rightfully being honored. And for many people, this is a day of some regrets or sadness or grief, loss, anger. And so this is my wish for all of us on this Mother's Day. I recognize my own complexity of this day, mixture of grief and love for my long departed mother, that each of us would receive and offer exactly what we need to on this day. And so enter into a deeper, caring intimacy with ourselves and with each other on this Mother's Day. This sense of intimacy with ourselves and with life, real, honest, deep connection. It ran all throughout my watching of the video exchanges, the pen pals between Micah and Evan. And it brought to mind someone who just recently left this life. Michael Collins, some of you know, died about a week ago, age 90. He was one of the 3 astronauts on that first moon landing. Michael Collins, who was the astronaut who circled in the capsule around the moon and didn't set foot on the moon, and has been the human being furthest from Earth ever. He was once termed the loneliest person in the world, because no one has been more alone farther away from Earth than him. But if you know anything about Michael Collins' story, you know that his experience of there floating in that capsule, waiting to pick up eventually the other 2 astronauts walking on the moon's surface, you know that his experience was anything but lonely. He has some just beautiful quotes, spiritually, I think, enlightened quotes about that experience of what it was to look at the Earth from the perspective of the moon by himself, and this little blue-green orb floating there in the vast blackness of space. And how rather than feeling lonely, it opened up within him a tenderness. He actually wished that all the warring politicians in the world could have this same perspective that he had of seeing the Earth float there in space. And the awareness birthed in him was a kind of fragile tenderness for this entire human existence, all of us. For me, this brings it full circle from where Evan and Micah started. And I want to thank both of them particularly for offering this tour from the skies and the stars right here down to the ground under our feet, and to the people that we share this life with. On this day, I hope we can all take some time, as Evan and Micah have modeled for us and invited us to do, to wonder at the complexity, the beauty, the pain, the ow and the wow, and the love of this life that is our birthright, that all of us share. Amen, and may you live in blessing. I ask if you would please join your heart with mine in prayer. This breath, this spirit, ageless and yet giving birth to our age, this very moment. May we all give ourselves the gift of being able to step back from our lives, to wonder at the wonder of it all, to feel both the awe and the awfulness, to allow our hearts to open again and again, so that we might know this precious human birth, this opportunity to be alive as we know it right here and right now. That this experience of being alive may be as full with life, our lives and other people's lives, as it can possibly be. May we breathe in, and may we breathe out. And may we know that this moment, here we are. And it is something beyond words, miraculous. Amen.
When I was a boy each week, Sunday we would go to church and pay attention to the priest, and he would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. When I was in Sunday school, we will learn about the time Moses split the sea in two, and Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad, miracles don't happen still, but now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine, water is not so small, but needing that magic trick isn't anything that's here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where the missing's one. When holy water was rare at best, I barely wet my fingertips. Now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in a sea of it. It used to be a world out there, heaven sent a great hand me down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Read a question in child's face, so it's not a testament. That'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come, so it's not a sacrament. I tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood and saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush and singing like a scripture verse. It made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out how things have changed since then, 'cause everything is holy now. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now.
And now is the time in our service where we extinguish the flame that we lit early this morning. Although this light goes out, the light does not. And together we say these words. As we release this flame from its faithful service today, we allow the spark in each of us to burn on, to warm our compassion, to fire our delight, to light our paths, today, tomorrow, and always. May all of you be well and safe, and I'll hope to see some of you at our Zoom coffee hour in just a few minutes. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.